Well, welcome to the Post Sunday app. We continue to make our tour around the building here as we do these videos, and we're in the the northwest corner by the entrance of the building. What do you think of this setting?
I love this. Yeah, this is nice.
Yeah.
And if I start to just close my eyes, it's because I'm thinking, and just let the camera keep going.
Okay.
And I'll
ask a question.
I'll nod.
And
Yeah.
we'll just wait.
Yeah. And if I'm quiet for a long time, it means, why don't you answer that, Ben?
Okay, I'll do my best.
Okay.
I'll do my best. Before we get into the questions, though, yesterday you spent a little bit of time before your sermon talking about our Sunday morning children's ministries and opportunities to serve there.
Yes.
We did hear from this morning from Debbie Jo Hodges that she had some good interest.
It was really encouraging.
Yeah, very encouraging report from her. We still have opportunities even in September.
Yeah.
To serve, so we want to encourage people to consider that. But what motivated you to give that little piece of a pre-sermon time to that?
Well, Debbie Jo motivated me. No,
Yeah.
I know. I'm always hesitant to do announcements from the pulpit.
Yeah.
I think that announcements are a lot less effective than sometimes people think they are, and you just want to make sure all our hearts are focused on worship, and you're not, by the way, there's a garage sale this week, and that, you just don't want to, and we need to do a better job cleaning up our clutter here. You just don't want to get into nitty-gritty. But children's ministry is such an integral part of our church, and it's an exciting ministry. I think so many people look at what God is doing at our church with our children, and they get excited. It's one of the first things most people tell me about our church whenever they visit. Yeah. And so I think people would be surprised to know that there's a need sometimes. And so it was important, I think, to let the whole church know, hey, this ministry we all love so much, there's an opportunity, a need. Let's see if God is raising up people that have a heart to do this. And it's important that people make the decision to help in that quickly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what motivated. And again, I think people responded to that because they love our kids so much. And so I know our church loves kids, and so I was just so encouraged once again at how our church responded to that, and would just encourage people still, there's that need, and so come and talk to Debbie Jo about that if God's laying our kids on your heart.
Yeah. So as we think about Sunday morning children's ministries, Buddy program, Sunday morning opportunity, Awana. It's a real opportunity for God to show himself strong by filling these roles, and we hope people will consider being part of that.
That's right.
So
good.
So yesterday's sermon we talked about as a family this morning at the breakfast table.
Oh, good.
And we noticed something that you can correct us if we're wrong on observation. This was kind of the second part of a two-part sermon.
Right.
Now, for the first time, you spent new time on points 1 and 2 that you had done last week? Maybe didn't just review 1 and 2 and gone on to 3 and 4.
Yeah.
But you gave new stuff on 1 and 2. Is that an accurate observation? Was that the first time you've done that?
No.
Before?
So I don't know. I never know what I do.
I really hope it is, because that's what we thought.
I'm not sure. I don't remember introducing new stuff on the first point, but the second point for sure, I had just barely. So first service, I said, here's a couple things, and then realized, I gotta land this plane. Okay. And so, that's the second point contains the most verses. That's the biggest part of the passage, and so I spent a lot more time on the second point, and then the third point and fourth point had the least amount of text, and I spent the least amount of time there. So so it's an accurate observation.
Well, we had a good discussion about the sermon this morning. A couple of questions that came in. One asked. Because we're in Genesis 1:1 to 2:3 as we start our Pentateuch series here. One question was, does Genesis 1 give a theological backing for being pro-life over being pro-animal rights? Kind of the idea of when we created man, it was very good, which is good. When we created animals, does that speak into theologically this idea?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe not instead of being pro-animal, but in the sense of what it means to be rightly pro-animal or pro-environment or pro-whatever. I think Genesis 1 it helps us correct a lot of wrong thinking. So it helps us understand, okay, there's something uniquely important about human beings and life. We're in the image of God, and so there's unique value that we see that human beings have that I think a lot of people who might call themselves animal activists or something don't rightly understand. They don't rightly understand the divine distinction that God makes between humanity and animals. I don't mean that human beings are divine, but I think God in his divinity is making a distinction between human beings and animals. But then also, just this whole idea of being created in the image of God also carries with it not just the idea that we're important, but that we have an important task to do. And so treating the resources that God has given us as his representatives. And so how would God treat the resources that we are in charge of? We're in charge of in the sense of stewardship. And I don't think we think about our resources rightly sometimes. Mm-hmm. We see resources either as things to be exploited or things that are our own. And God calls us to use resources, to be productive as we use resources, but to do so in a godly way.
Mm-hmm. So as we, this is a very theological question. Does Genesis 1 give us the background for this? Mm-hmm. As you think about, we talk about children's ministry, instructing our kids not only in our church setting, but in the home. Should we be teaching our kids also some of the creation science, scientific proofs for creation in conjunction with theology? Should we just focus on the theological side? Mm-hmm. The pendulum can go one way or the other too much, or is there a sweet spot? How would you help us with that?
Well, so first of all, I personally want my children to really understand evolution. Yeah, in the sense of I want them to know what evolution and all the things that I guess you'd call it mainstream. I don't know the right term to use, but I want them to know those theories. I want them to know what the dominant worldview is saying. Intellectually, I want them to grasp that. And then I want them to understand biblically, okay, here's the presuppositions that we disagree with that shape how this mainstream worldview sees the world around them, and to think theologically about how to interact with those things. I read the stuff from Paul Davies yesterday. I've read that before, and I think it's good to say, okay, this is the worldview, this is the science behind it, and here are the holes in this worldview. Here's how this worldview doesn't have it can't be consistently applied, and here's the foundational assumptions that they're making about the universe. And so I think those things are helpful for our kids to think through. We need to think through it theologically, but I think in terms of knowing that content, it's very important for kids to be aware of those arguments, to be aware of of what the academic world is saying. Because our kids may grow up to be scientists, and they need to know what the prevailing theories are so they can speak intelligently about them. So.
And I like how you said that too, in that I think as a dad I could be tempted, hey, I see something about something proven in science towards creation, and just kind of say, hey kids, look at this, see?
Right.
Isn't our worldview right? But you are backing the train up quite a bit and saying, okay, foundationally, what does the scripture say? What's the worldview we take? What are the presuppositions that an evolutionist would bring to the table?
Right.
How do we? So it's much deeper than just, let me give you some facts about science that will help you.
And I think I think sometimes kids go off and they hear some things in college that they never heard their parents discuss, and they do feel like, man, I feel like you're hiding some things from me because you don't know how to answer these things. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's good for parents to present some things, and even sometimes say, you know what, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this evidence, and here's what Scripture teaches about the beginning. Here's what scientists who would be mainstream scientists, secular scientists, materialists, here's what they don't understand, and here's why I have confidence in God. Here's what I know about His character. Here's what He says about the beginning. Here's all the things that the materialists can't explain, and here's why I put my trust ultimately in who God is and His character and His Word.
Yeah, good. Okay, so in His Word it says that God rested.
Yeah.
Why?
So, the
Easy question, come on.
Yeah, easy question.
Is this where you're going to fade off?
Yeah. What do you think, Ben? It is interesting how that act of God resting shapes so much of the rest of Scripture. It becomes the basis of the commandment to rest and to keep the Sabbath day holy. It's been sanctified, set apart. People are to trust God on that day, to provide for them. And then in the New Testament, there's this idea of pursuing God's rest. The writer of Hebrews talks about don't let us, any of us, have hardened hearts and be disobedient. We want to be able to enter into God's rest. And so I think after the fall, rest is denied, and then there's this continued searching for rest. And I think it's designed to help us yearn for God, to yearn for Him and His character. And so we want to enter into that state of being in perfect relationship with God. We want to have a cessation from labor and toil that's under the curse, and enter into God's rest. And so I think it's there designed to provide a picture for us of our yearning for this relationship with God to be restored.
Show our need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. I'm not totally sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's okay to say that. You just told us that. So, yeah. Well, good. Well, you want to give any sneak peeks to next week, or do we wait?
So people need to be reading Genesis 2, and we're going to be talking about marriage and the foundational family relationship that we see there in Genesis chapter 2.
Yeah. Well, I am officiating a wedding this weekend.
Okay.
So if you could do that sermon last week, that would have been much better for me.
Okay. I did a wedding last week. That would have been better for me too.
Yeah. I'll compare notes with you.
Yeah, that'd be very helpful.
Great. Well, thanks, Daniel. Thanks for tuning in to the Post Sunday app, and have a great rest of your day.